I like first past the post because it's fast, clear, transparent, you can understand it, it's accountable, and it's really not too expensive. I also believe it's much more democratic. Now, of course, the problem that we've got is that we're talking about getting people to come out and vote no for the status quo. And that's actually quite difficult to engage people's minds. It's a bit of a turnaround. But it is really important because what we're looking at doing on the 5th of May is changing the political system in as dramatic a way as giving women the vote. Now, I believe in giving women the vote. I think that was really important. And I'm very clear about that. I think it was a good thing. But I don't think that giving AV the breath of air in this country is a good thing. It is actually only used for parliamentary democracies, and I know students use it in universities to elect people and to elect certain things. But it is only used for parliamentary democracies in 3 countries. In Australia, in Fiji, and in New Guinea. Now in Australia, in a recent ballot, 53% wanted first past the post. Fiji voted to get rid of it and then had a military coup. And the last time there was a vote in Papua New Guinea, I understand something like 58% of the electoral wards and constituencies are under investigation for voter fraud. So there is only one place we can look to see whether or not AV is something that would work in Britain, and that is Australia. And that's why everyone's been talking about Australia. That's why everyone's been looking at Australia as the way to go. Now, you've had a good explanation. I could pick holes in it, but you've had a good explanation from the chairman about it. This is first past the post in this leaflet, which you've probably all seen, or you can get online. That's first past the post in 1 page. This is AV in 1, 2, 3, and pretty nearly 4 pages. But none of that actually explains the impact. Let's talk about some of the things that the yes argument have been saying. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Is it? There were twice as many constituencies that had 12 candidates in the last election as there were that had 3. Over 71% of them had 6. We're told by the Yes campaign it'll encourage more people to stand. Well, I believe that's the case. An Australian ballot paper, it's got 22 different people on it. So how on earth do you decide who you're going to vote for? Well, it's quite easy, really. You decide which party you're going to support, and as you walk into the ballot paper, you pick up one of these off the party that's going to support. This one says, vote Liberal. This is the way that you vote Liberal. And they've given you the order that you put the numbers in. And the reason for that is that the tactics in AV are not on the first preference, but they're on the second and the third and the fourth. Now, I'm a politician. I think I'm the only politician on the table. Active politician. I mean, there's some people who have stood as councillors. Are you still a councillor? Apologies.
I'm an alderman.
You're an alderman. Right. Been a councillor a long time. So, as a politician, I don't want you, my electorate, my voters, getting involved in a political stitch-up. And that's what this does. Because what will happen is the political parties will decide how they want their supporters to vote, and they'll be doing deals with the other people so that they get the places that they want, and the preference is dropping out. So you get someone who's not popular in your area, and you say, if you get your candidates to put as a second preference, we'll do the same for your party somewhere else. Now, that's how Australia works, because Australia has got a collection of parties. And one of that collection of parties is a coalition. And since the end of December 1949, 53% of the days were under coalition government. So be clear, if you want coalitions, vote for AV. But that's exactly why I don't want AV. Because I want the opportunity to get rid of a bad government. I want the opportunity to make it clear, swift, fair, transparent, and democratic. Thank you.
I thank both speakers for their speeches. And I now welcome Georgina to speak on student issues and how they'll be affected by AV.
I'd love to get my teeth into some of those arguments just brought up, but I don't have time right now, so I'm going to talk about the effects of AV on students. Now, I'm here tonight as part of the wider project of mine. That project is to get students like you as actively involved and engaged in politics as possible. Now, you might recognise me. I spent 2 days before Easter outside the Northlands trying to get as many students as possible to register to vote. I was there for 2 days solid, and thousands of people must have passed me by, but despite this, in the end, we only ended up getting 80 completed forms to the council. I think that this is really worrying in one of the most elite universities in the country, that such apathy among students exists. We need to question why this is. And for me, the reasons lie with our electoral system and the effects it has on politics. Students are apathetic because they are told under FPTP, first past the post, that they have to vote tactically. They're told that a vote for a small party is a wasted vote at worst, and at best, it is a protest vote. Now, the large parties tell voters that they need to choose which party they dislike most and vote against them to keep them out. Now, this isn't how democracy should work, and I think we need to change that. Students are also apathetic because of the negative campaigning that goes on within political parties. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of the leaflets you get through your door and have been getting through your door are full of lies in your eyes and insults. Now, this isn't the way that democracy should work. It should be about positive campaigning, putting forward your message and letting people judge you accordingly, not insulting other parties. Students are also apathetic because politicians are seen to be unresponsive and unaccountable. Now, we know that students care about political issues because we saw in autumn them taking to the streets about something they were passionate about. Now, we wonder why then they don't translate this into political action within parties. It's because they don't think politicians work for them anymore. We need to change the system so that politicians work for us. So, how will AV help? AV will end the tactical vote. You can vote with your heart for your first preference and vote with your head for the second preference. It means you can vote for smaller parties and it won't be wasted. It will also mean that negative campaigning would, if not end, it would take steps to end it. This is because if you run your campaign by insulting other parties, then you'll lose their second preferences. You need to win a broad base of support, not just your traditional support base. AV would also make politicians more accountable, as they would need over 50% of the vote. This is a real mandate, not the fake mandate we have now, where we only need to get more than other political parties. We only get a chance to choose who represents us every 4 years in a representative democracy. We need to make this count, or what does democracy even mean?
Thank you very much, Georgina. And now I welcome Alex to give another 3-minute speech on how AV works.
Thank you for coming, and I apologise in advance if my We know that in Scotland, when we changed from first past the post, counting machines were introduced. In London, when the same thing happened, counting machines were introduced. And in Wales, counting machines were introduced. Also, we changed from first past the post. Now, it might well be true that at the moment there are no plans to introduce counting machines, but I genuinely think, I think maybe even the NOtoAV campaign who have said that counting machines will be introduced, genuinely believe that that is what will happen, even if they aren't outwardly or openly planned by the current government. Next, I'd like to move on to what Tony said, and also what was also said about this being about the electorate. And I think that's exactly the problem that we currently have in British politics, that the electorate is not reflective of the majority of the public. Black people are less likely to vote than white people, poor people are less likely to vote than wealthier people, more well-educated people are more likely to vote, and less well-educated people, and students as well, are less likely to vote. Indeed, all young people are less likely to vote than people who are older. This continues right up to retirement and beyond as you get older and older. So as long as we focus on things like changing the electoral system or reform or altering the structure and telling ourselves that for some reason white people don't believe that it's a wasted vote in AV, but black people are much more likely to think this, or that poorer people, they don't bother voting because they think that they have to tactically vote, so they don't bother, whereas wealthy people don't feel this concern. We fail to address any of the much deeper and the real problems, which mean that huge sections, and some of the poorest and the most vulnerable sections of our society, feel disenfranchised. Whilst I don't believe that AV makes that situation worse, I think that if we want to focus on something like AV, we distract ourselves from a much more serious problem which pervades British politics at the moment and a lot of politics in the Western world. I'd like to now move on to some arguments specifically against AV. I think the reality of the way an AV system would work, and this again goes back to the reasons why they realistically will introduce counting machines, which are expensive, is that it's not as simple as 1, 2, 3, or even 1, 2, 3, 4. In most seats, most seats had 6 candidates in the last general election, and in 2 seats there were as many as 12. So the reality of an AV would be that we'd knock out the monster union party, we've got 50 votes, we allocate his or hers, and that would change almost nothing. Then we do it again and again and again, and find out the person who got 48% of the votes actually doesn't only get 50% of the vote. In, I think, as many as over 200 seats, the safest seats, you already get over 50% of the vote. There simply wouldn't be a change in the slightest there. So this claim that somehow you would make these people who are those safe seats for life work harder or care more about the electorate is simply untrue. In those seats we know that they will continue to have the same mandate just given to them automatically. I think, at the end, sorry, that came a lot quicker than I thought, but thank you.